It's just Lester and the Bearded Fen this morning. Oleg is, I don't know, on holiday somewhere. I hope he's enjoying the weather. But I think he might be, I think he said he was going to be doing some hiking again, so I suppose this is probably the best weather to be doing some hiking in. I don't really want to...
As long as it's not wet.
No, it's not wet. It's just nice and cool, though. It's overcast and cool. But again, you know, in that situation, you always need to make sure you're wearing sun cream, because if there's a day that you're going to get sunburnt, it's the day that it's overcast.
Yeah.
Because I think...
And his delicate Northern European skin...
Eastern Bloc.
Probably
Hey, listen, dude, we can go to town on Oleg today. You know, the Russian, you know, we can do a whole lot of stuff going on there. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be a Saturday morning without Lester getting stuck on the video. And guess what? He's got stuck already. I think we lost Lester. So this is one thing that amazes me. Lester's back. Lester's back.
Yeah. Sort of.
Sort of. Jeez, dude, I don't know what's going on with your internet.
We said, what was the... I'm trying to figure out what the key word was. Was it Eastern Bloc requires sunblock?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Eastern Bloc requires sunblock. Yeah, so I think the moment we mentioned Eastern Bloc, I think all the Russian bots woke up on the internet.
Yeah,
there.
that's it. Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, I must tell you.
Yes.
So you're eating biltong for breakfast?
Yes, I'm having biltong for breakfast.
A true African. But from my screen, it looks pixelated in your hand. Like it's obscene.
Oh, okay.
What is this pixelated thing in your hand that you keep shoving in your mouth?
Is your internet that bad that I'm pixelated?
No. I don't know why.
So how was the week, dude? Give it a rating.
Oh, here we go. I think I'm going to come in with a 6. I mean, it's been okay. A lot of people are away on, taking holiday. I'm not sure they're going away, but so work-wise, there's less emails to respond to, and so from that perspective, slightly more productive week. But it's still, and therefore it gets a 6.
Yeah, I'm right behind you on a 6 there. Yeah, it was a hectic week, but not too hectic. You know, unfortunately, my life is just at the moment just seems to be work, and work. And I feel so disengaged or not engaged with the rest of the world. You know, it's because definitely my sort of social media consumption or online consumption or electronic media consumption has dropped dramatically. I mean, we talk about TikTok and how much time one spends on TikTok. If I've spent 10 minutes on TikTok this week, it's a lot. Haven't been on Facebook. I think
you can't do 10 minutes on TikTok.
Well, I did. So then, you know, things are really bad if I can only do TikTok for 10 minutes. Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know what's going on in the news. You know, I mean, besides hearing about asteroids potentially hitting the Earth the day before the U.S. elections.
It's a sign.
It's a sign from the heavens. Yeah, God is flicking stones at Donald Trump. Yeah, man, dude, I don't know what's going on in the world. Hey, so tell me some news from the UK side. Anything interesting happening there?
I'm in a similar situation. I've kind of stopped watching the news because it's become very samey. We have more riots happening in the US. There's what else is going on that's different? I don't know.
So I mean, you were talking now about people taking leave at the moment, but not necessarily going away. What's the current status in terms of, say, like Airbnb or Airbnbs? Are they open? Are they operating? What's the deal there?
Yes, is the answer.
Okay.
Well, because all right, so the situation is that as a person living in the UK, there's certain countries that I can travel to and return without fear of having to put myself in self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Okay, so what's happened over the last few weeks is people have gone, well, we can go to that country, and off they go. Get in their car or hop on what few planes are flying.
Okay.
And those are increasing, and off they go. So we had a situation a couple of weeks ago, which I think I mentioned, that the country that the people travel to, the government changed their view after the reinfection rate numbers came in. They went, no, sorry, that country's no longer on the safe list. And then suddenly everyone's
stuck.
tripping over each other to come back.
Yeah.
And it changes every week. So these people are constantly, getting stranded everywhere.
Yeah.
Or there's a mad rush.
Yeah.
So there's still people who booked holidays for around September, all right? That's kind of the last time you can go to the Med before the weather really changes. So they're all like, fingers crossed. Oh, Portugal wasn't open. Now Portugal is open. I know.
Oh, it's closed.
Oh, do I risk it? Do I go? Do I stay? So because of all that risk, then a lot of people are holidaying in the UK because we've actually had a reasonable summer this year, which has been useful. So people in the UK. Now, the thing is, it costs as much to go on holiday in the UK as it does to go somewhere else. In fact, it's cheaper to go to Spain or somewhere like that to go into the UK. So historically, everyone's gone further afield than stay at home. Staycation is now happening here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you stuttering. I was the one that used to stutter at school, not you. Is that a banana that you're eating? Oh man, I've got to get a screenshot. Oh damn, it disappeared.
Come in.
Hello, Moscow.
Coming over.
Yeah. Mustn't mention communist, ex-communist countries, because then your internet goes dodge. Anyway, Lester, you were talking about staycation. So here in South Africa, what's happening is those sort of timeshare places and those establishments are now open for business. So I've got some timeshare or holiday club points or whatever you want to call it. And I saw an email come out last week to say that
Okay.
we can now start booking. Not all the resorts are open yet, but we can definitely. So now I'm thinking, okay, I need to start booking a place. But I'm sure there's going to be a mad rush because I'm sure everyone's like only but too happy to get out of.
But this is what happened in the UK because people have decided to go on staycations rather than go abroad to Europe. Now there's not enough. The industry doesn't really support those level of numbers and that demand. So now prices are hiking up. And it was, not that cheap before. Now it's even, you pay a premium in most places.
Yeah.
That's a problem. There's not enough. You can't just book last minute because everyone's done the same thing.
No, exactly. Because now I'm thinking.
And it's not just the UK.
Yeah.
This is happening across Europe.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because now when I'm thinking about booking, I'm thinking about booking next year. I'm not thinking about booking now. But
I'm not even doing that.
Who knows? But who knows what's going to happen next year? Maybe there's another virus on the horizon.
So I had planned to go meet up with my mate from New York. We were going to go to the Caribbean somewhere, and then it changed that we're going to go to Mexico. And I spoke to him yesterday, going, "There's no way this is happening."
Yeah.
And he was flying down to Florida to meet up with another mate, and together they were going to meet up with me later. So, but he's thinking he can't even fly to another state from New York.
Really?
That's yeah.
Yeah. Geez, I haven't checked on what the latest situation is in the US, but that's quite hectic.
It's the same. It's not getting better.
Yeah.
So
we're level 2 now, and I've noticed a sort of like a dramatic sort of change in how people are operating. I mean, for the first time, I went to a restaurant. Last Saturday in the afternoon. I met up with a mate of mine. One of our local places, Brian Lara. Fortunately, it's still open. Went there. It was fairly busy, But I mean, like no one's wearing masks or anything like that. Look, they are taking your details when you arrive and, name and cell phone number and take your temperature and all that kind of thing. But just all of a sudden, in my mind, I've caught myself walking out the house and going to the shops and realizing, oh, shit, I forgot my mask at home. Whereas, after 6 months of doing it, you would have thought it was ingrained. But like the thought of going to level 2 is like, just for me personally, it's just like something changed in my head. Yeah, it's okay now.
We're back to normal.
Yeah, we're back to normal, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, talking about back to normal, so under level 2, obviously you can now buy alcohol again, but only between, Mondays and Thursdays, and cigarettes as well. But what I've heard is that the cigarette prices, I don't really know because I don't smoke, is that the cigarette prices have escalated dramatically. I mean, they were already expensive by South African standards.
Well, taxes, man. The government needs the revenues.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Is it the tax that they're pushing, or is it the actual like the tobacco companies or the cigarette companies that have now trying to recoup the money that they apparently lost? Because what I found very interesting was, now, I mean, think of the situation. You've got all these supermarkets around the country, all these convenience stores at the petrol station, etc., and they find out on Sunday night that as of tomorrow morning, you can't sell cigarettes anymore, right? So theoretically, they must have stock. So you would imagine that when it officially opens up again for you to sell cigarettes, you should still have the stock that you had a couple of months ago. But no one had stock. So now the question is, where did those cigarettes go? They obviously were sold through the back door, Anyway, but that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, so are you receiving me loud and clear there in the UK? I'll take that as a no. So I find this very interesting. I don't know if I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is that we were having a conversation with some of our Canadian colleagues, and there's a city or town or whatever you want to call it outside Toronto called Sudbury, which is very much very similar to the sort of size of Kimberley. And what they were saying is that they needed to upload some data into the cloud, and they didn't. Their internet connection was so bad there in Sudbury that they weren't able to upload it from there, so they had to put it on an external hard drive and send it back to a place, I think it was Toronto, back to a place where they had better connectivity. And I just, sometimes I like wonder, how's it possible in these first world countries that they have issues with the internet?
So, well, look at me every Saturday.
Well, that's my point. Yeah, like what is the deal? I don't know. I suppose is it? Do you think it's a situation that in South Africa that they've put the infrastructure in now, like the fiber network and all that, and that there's the contention on the system is a lot lower than, let's say, in a place like the UK. I mean, do you think that's the case?
I think it is a lot more new infrastructure. There's a lot more bandwidth people need. And actually the driver behind Johannesburg getting a whole lot of, or South Africa getting a whole bunch of investment and infrastructure upgrades.
Yeah.
One of the main drivers was Netflix. The sheer demand when Netflix was released to the public in SA
really
had a knock-on effect that nobody was expecting.
Oh wow!
So,
thanks DSTV.
So there you go.
Because I mean, the Netflix, the opportunity for Netflix was presented. Well, the situation was made more favorable by DSTV starting to piss off their customers in terms of the cost, and because like the thing is like, like I stream everything, right? I mean, I don't have I've still got a decoder, but I don't have a dish. I don't think I've been with DSTV for like the last 5 years, kind of thing. So I stream everything, and so sports is an issue because, DSTV or MultiChoice, they have the rights for, like for a lot of these sporting events in South Africa.
Yeah.
So that's the only place that you can get it. But most of the sports channels that you want to watch, you can only get on the premium package. So you've got to be dropping over 1,000 Rand a month to be able to be have access to that. And like you would have thought that they would have come up with a plan a lot sooner to say, okay, well, you know, if you only want to stream, okay, and then have some sort of subscription model.
Well, that's what Sky Sports did. They realized that the cable TV and all of that, the satellite TV providers, that people were moving, their habits were changing. The older generation, or the, you know, they were always going to watch TV that way. So they had to continue with their original packages. But the younger generation, they're a lot more mobile. They're using their phones more than they are the big TV. So they all came out with a basic, you could buy a ticket for a viewing. So you can go, say, I want to watch that event, and I just want to watch that event, nothing else.
Like as a pay-as-you-go kind of situation.
Yeah. And if it's a test match cricket, you can pay for the day. You know, they got these various options.
Yeah, I think...
and it doesn't change the media.
Yeah, so anyway.
Just talking about, I think I have an old system. I have an old connection, right? Because one of the guys that works for me who lives down the road, he actually gets more bandwidth than he's actually contracted. And what did he contract? 200 download, and I forget what it was up. He's getting 215, 220 on his download with a 2 millisecond
latency.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's the same network as me, and he's only 15 minutes down the road.
Yeah. See,
and I get nowhere close to that. And we're on the same package.
That's interesting, eh?
It's a pain in the arse. Maybe I should pop around his house every Saturday morning.
Maybe. Or go sit in the car outside his place, just connect to his Wi-Fi. Yeah. So, I mean, have you touched base with your service provider in terms of the potential issues that you're having? But I mean, you're only having issues on Saturdays. You're not having issues for work, right? That's case in point. That's interesting. Anyway, so I think it's time for another screenshot. The many faces of Leicester. Right, so like I said, first world problems for some people. All I can say is that my days of having ADSL and every time it rained, not having internet, are way, way, way behind me. I can't remember when last I complained about my internet. Now that I've got fiber. Are you back, Lester? Is Lester back? No, he's not. So I think I also suspect that Skype has a lot to do with what's happening with things here. Hello, Lester. That's a good face. That explains the situation very nicely. Is you back, Lester?
Yes. I'm not sure if I'm back.
No.
I'm present.
You're present.
In some millisecond time zone.
Yeah. So
this is so frustrating. Carry on.
Yeah, we were complaining about internet, and we were demonstrating live how frustrating it can be sometimes. So I'm wondering, because I mean, you said you don't have problems with work, eh?
Maybe we should not complain. Again, it's a trigger.
Okay, maybe. But I mean, like when you do Teams meetings, are you guys using video, or are you just doing sound? Have I lost Lester again? Yeah. Anyway, I suppose Saturday wouldn't be interesting if it wasn't issues with connectivity. Or frustrating, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So, I really need to have some sort of fillers that I can put in here every time Lester leaves us. So that, anyway, so as I look at Lester's Skype logo, so I was having a look at some of the international days during the week. One of them that caught my attention is on Wednesday it was Web Mistress Day. So when I first read Web Mistress Day, I had this vision in my head of some online mistress that you're having an online affair with. But when I actually read the description of what it is, it's actually just a gender-specific representation of a webmaster, and a webmaster is normally someone that develops websites for you. So traditionally you would call someone that developed a website for you a webmaster. So now they've decided to create a day which is to honor the web mistress, which is the female version of a webmaster. So it was rather interesting. I see Thursday was burger day. I don't know if you knew that and had a burger. I had a burger last night.
No, I didn't know that. No.
So
I missed that. I'm going to have to.
Yeah, I think you missed it.
I'll just turn my video off to help the bandwidth.
Okay, no, that's fine. So, well, I must.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I was just going to say that maybe what I must do is I must take one of your screenshots and then put it up there.
Well, if you take all those screenshots and animate them, it looks like I'm doing
exactly.
like a little song and dance.
Yeah, I still haven't got around to doing a video montage, but I will, because I thought if I did,
it's quite all right.
No rush. I thought if I did it for this weekend, then Oleg would miss it. You know, we definitely need his comments, his input on that. So,
Chop Suey Day.
Yeah, I see that.
Ooh.
So, I mean, what is it with a burger?
Looking at September 1st, which is National No Rhyme, No Reason Day.
Are you busting out a rhyme for us?
Well, I think that's what it's about. None of that rhyming stuff tomorrow. Monday. Don't do that. Tuesday.
So
I'm getting ahead. I'm getting to next week.
Well, it's not too bad. So, I mean, what's it with a burger and the popularity of a burger? I mean, why do you think burgers are so popular as opposed to any other? Like, I mean, if you go out to the pub or whatever, what are you having? Are you having a burger? Are you having a pie? Are you having bangers and mash, or what are you having?
It varies. I think it depends on the weather. But, more often than not, everywhere you go, they're going to have a burger on the menu. Yeah,
exactly.
I think it's because it is easy to make. It's cheap to keep stock of.
Is it also a safe option? Because, like, if you were to,
well, if you consider this is the land of mad cow disease, right?
Yes.
And we've also had scandals around horse meat and burgers. Do you know about that?
No, but do tell.
Yeah, going back a couple of years, because on all food packaging, you got to say what's in the food. So it's a requirement, obviously. And basically, the processed food manufacturers weren't entirely honest about how much horse meat was in the food.
Right.
This chicken tastes like horse. No, it wasn't that bad. It was more the beef kind of products. They were just supplementing with horse. And I don't have an issue with horse meat. I don't have an issue with it. I mean, it's meat is meat. But I think it's about the moral issue. You got to say what's in there. You can't just hide the fact that you've just thrown in all this turkey because it was a rubbish Christmas. We have all this excess turkey. We've now put that in the chicken products.
Yeah, just
you've got to be honest about it. It's ethical.
Yes. Transparency. Talking about horse meat, when I was at Tech, so this is the early 90s, there was a story about that one of these pie makers was using horse meat in their pies. And, like you say, I mean, people were just horrified at the thought that they didn't know that they were potentially eating horse. But I must tell you, it was the best tasting pies I ever had. Yeah. Did I lose you again? Hallo Bosbok inkomen. So Lester, are you with me? Yes, no? I can hear the squeaky chair as opposed to the comfy chair. Yeah. Anyway, so whenever I go out for a beer at the pub, not that I'm drinking beer at the moment, but every time I go out, for me the safest option is always to get a burger. Good old cheeseburger and chips is always good. I was just wondering, I'd hardly ever look at anything else on the menu. If I go to a place that does a good Prager roll, I would have a good Prager roll. But yeah, when I saw a burger...
Can't get those here so much.
You?
No, I miss a good Prager roll.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke about this in a previous episode about the Prager rolls we had on your wedding day. I think I consumed 2 that day.
Yes.
It was down there in Durban somewhere.
On
point, yeah. Good Prager rolls, man. But the problem is that when you get a bad one...
I just thought the likes of Nando's...
Yeah.
The likes of Nando's here, which is, I think we've covered this off before as well, it's got a slightly different menu, different palette over here. But why don't they do a Prager roll? That's perfect. It's all set up.
You mean like a chicken Prager or like a beef Prager?
Yeah, like a chicken Prager. Because I just want to get something close to it. The sauces are out there, but you got to have the right, got the smoky barbecue, bride kind of grilled with smoke cooking method.
Yes.
But also, I don't think we've got the right rolls to go with it. Rolls.
So you don't have like a Portuguese style with the flour on the top.
Not easily available. Not exactly the same. There's some stuff that's close. Don't get me wrong. There's a huge variety of bloody bread products here.
I'm sure.
But it's just not. It's not the same. It's like the what did we say? The old South African stodgy white loaf.
Yes.
All right. The government issue recipe that's the same across the land.
The one that you had to put through the bread cutter.
Exactly. So we get similar loaves here, but it doesn't taste the same. It's not the same consistency. Yeah. And we're like, this is so frustrating. That's what we used to.
So are you big on bread? I mean, do you enjoy going and finding? Have you got a good bakery down the road that you can go grab a good loaf of bread from?
I do like a good bread, and and I do, because of the travels I have in France. There's their bakeries. If you get around Paris early morning, there's so many good smells coming from the street from all the various bakeries. There's a lot of old-fashioned stuff where they're still cooking in the basement of their homes. These are the bakers, right? Not in a national factory. There's a lot of home baking, family-run businesses being there for generation to generation. Yeah. Germany loves bread. There's varieties there you don't get anywhere else. UK loves bread.
So that's one thing. I don't know if you know my eldest daughter, Rebecca. She went to Germany about 2 years ago for like a 4-week sort of exchange student kind of thing. And that's the one thing that she said that she remembers about Germany is the breads. The other thing that she told me about was, they all ride on, they get around either on trams or bicycles or walk or whatever, which is very, very different to what we do here in South Africa. You climb in the car, And she was in Bremen. So she flew into Frankfurt and then caught a train from Frankfurt to Bremen. And, so she was there for a month. And she said, she phoned me, I think shortly after she got there, she phoned me and she said to me, listen, Dad, I'm a little bit nervous because tomorrow I need to ride. I think she had to ride to school or she had to ride somewhere on the bicycle. And she she can ride a bicycle, but she hadn't ridden a bicycle for quite a long time. And she said that they were, I'm positive she said they were going to cycle 30 kilometers, right? Like you take someone that doesn't cycle a lot, and now you got to tell them to go cycle 30 kilometers. But fortunately, it's flat there, so it's not really an issue. But yeah, she said, yeah, they just ride bicycles everywhere, catch the tram. They can come home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it's safe. And it's like such a different mindset. So I'm glad she went to experience that. Yeah, so pretty cool. Yeah.
It is like that. I mean, every city's got its bad spots, but yeah, I mean, cycling, it is a big thing. It's bigger in other countries, but yeah, I mean, you can just take your bike on the train or the tram, and
yeah. And I mean, the other interesting thing there is that the legal drinking age is 16.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So she took advantage of that, did she?
No. Well. I can neither confirm nor deny. A part of the exchange student sort of process up front, they told them they weren't allowed to drink while they were there. Because apparently there was a story about a previous group where on their way out, so in other words, all the students that had gone on this sort of exchange student program that had been there for 4 or 6 weeks or whatever it was, they all were coming home at the same time. So they all met up at the airport, and they were all flying out together. And excuse me. So one of them was turning 18, so he wanted to celebrate his 18th birthday. So he went and bought drinks for everyone, and they all got a little bit inebriated, to the extent that they were ill, right? So they got ill in the airport. So in Germany, they don't take any shit, dude. The moment they see that you're not feeling well, they call an ambulance. And I think there were 5 of them or 10 of them, or I can't remember. They all landed up in different hospitals. Right. So the parents, okay, right. So they weren't allowed to climb on the plane. They, the moment they got ill, the German staff at the airport there called the ambulance. They all landed up in different hospitals. I mean, you can just imagine what sort of how much extra that cost the parents,
because they would have missed their flights.
Yeah, they missed their flights, and I mean, it was a whole bang shoot, So yeah, anyway, it was one of those situations. So they were warned up front that they are not allowed to drink there, even though legally they can. They weren't allowed to drink while they were there. Yeah.
Well, it is the month of October Beer Fest next month.
Oops.
And I'm wondering how this is going to work.
You mean in terms of getting in close proximity to one another, in the good old beer hall?
Well, there's beer halls. There's also beer gardens. I mean, it's a fascinating culture. In the summer, everyone just comes out. It's not about the drinking; it's about the socializing.
Yes.
And it's a lovely settings generally where these gardens are. It's just so chilled, and everyone chats to everybody else. It's like a celebration of the good weather.
Yeah. You mean something like this? Oh, that's Capitec, dude.
No. It's Skype, not me.
Get you in the mood.
This time it's Skype, it's not me. So that's a bit worrying. You're also very pixelated now. And Hilltong. Yeah. So, can you still hear me though? With the delay?
Oh, there we go. A couple of technical issues there. Besides the adverts on YouTube. So I don't know how they're going to do that, man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's a cultural thing. I mean, I know it's, the traditional Munich beer fest are full of tourists and not many locals go to that anymore. But there's beer fests that happen all over the country. It's a celebration of the end of summer. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's no way you can keep social distancing in this kind of rule. And the reinfection rates in Germany have gone up, and we've gone back a step in our office. We shut our offices again.
Okay. Really?
So yeah.
So I was going to ask you, what's the status of you like going back to normal or going back to the office kind of thing?
No, nothing for the next month.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the London office is opening in a very restrictive way. It's not to go back. It's more if somebody needs to go and affect something because we've not had an office open in 6 months.
Right.
So it's more a coordinated thing for those who absolutely have to go in. So yeah, that's happening in a week's time. But everywhere else, we've kind of locked down again. Everyone's gone back to original positions because of reinfection.
Sure. So from our side, they're just saying, well, listen, if you can work from home, you just stay working from home. I mean, the only challenge for us is power because we're back into load shedding again. So that's a bit painful. And I mean, I was looking at options of how do I, during that 4 hours or whatever that I get load shed. How do I just keep my fiber going and my laptop, at least, just so that I can. I don't mind if it happens in the evening and I know and it's scheduled. I mean, you can work around that. You can make sure that you've got supper ready or something to eat, and I mean, you can just take the evening off because it's actually it is one way to make 100% sure that you just sit down, chill, and do nothing.
Actually, if there's during those power shedding, I mean, that means the cell phone masts are also out of action.
Yeah, there's sometimes depending on how widespread the load shedding is, sometimes the cell towers operate during that time, but a lot of the time they don't. A lot of the time, I think they just go into sort of like energy saving, even though they might have the power. I think they do dial it back because all of a sudden.
So what if there's an emergency? How do you get hold of emergency services?
Well, look, I mean, you can still make a phone call. It's just the data.
On the landline?
Yeah, no, on the cell phone. But like the data connection is shit. It goes from 4G down to.
Okay, makes sense.
Edge or something like that. And I mean, what can you do these days on Edge? I mean, in terms of,
no,
sending photos and whatever, streaming stuff.
No,
Nothing.
Edge is there for phone calls.
Yeah,
it puts you on edge.
Yeah, it does. So I was looking at some options, but I mean, they're not exactly cheap. I've got to probably drop about 12,000 Rand to be able to operate for 4 hours.
What is this? Like getting like a UPS? Or
it's like an inverter with a deep cycle battery in it. Because these UPSs, they're only really good for when the power goes down to give you the opportunity to put your close your machine down properly. They're not really there to provide you continuous power for 4 hours.
Well, depends how many batteries you buy.
but I think the batteries that they put in the UPSs are not like the sort of batteries that you would use for, let's say, your solar system that are deep cycle batteries. They're more like these sort of like the kind of battery that you would find in your gate motor kind of thing, or your alarm system. They're not really. They get damaged very easily if you're drawing current from them continuously. Yeah, so they don't last very long. So like your UPS will work for a while. Carry on.
Is there a lot of people doing solar panels on roof and storing?
Yeah, look, I mean, there are people that are going that route. It's very expensive. I mean, for a household, you're looking at about 150,000 Rand on average to set up a solar system for your house to be able to run everything, if you want to put it that way. Like for me, like I said, if it happens in the evening, it doesn't really matter. I just take that as a chill time, and I just work around to make sure I've got food ready or whatever, that, I don't have to worry about cooking. I mean, I've got the gas, I've got an electric stovetop, but I've got a gas cooker, as in the good old KRAK camping thing. And I can make stuff like that. But when it happens during the day, it's a bit of a stuff up, because you've got work to do, you can't work while the power's off, and then you've got to catch up in the evening. So it's a bit of a drag. But I don't know if 12,000 rand's worth the money. I don't know. Anyway, but listen, I was just looking at the stats for the world for COVID. We're sitting close to 25 million people being infected, 840,000 deaths. Let's see what the US is, what are they looking at? They're looking at 6 million confirmed cases, 185,000 deaths, and 3.3 million have recovered. What's the UK looking like? I haven't looked at these stats for yonks. I think the novelty wore off a bit. In terms of at one stage we were checking it like almost every day, Let's see, the UK here. They're sitting at blank. Refresh that. 330,000 confirmed cases. 41,000 deaths. I think the interesting thing there is the death rate is 12.5%. It's quite high.
Yeah, and we're still doing a shed load of testing, right?
Yeah. Have you been for a COVID test yet?
No. But the government has announced that they're trying to do more widespread testing. This is not just reactive testing anymore. They're now going to start testing the wider population, because they want to establish a wider source of data.
Yeah, sure.
So I know there's some households that have got a letter to say, right, tomorrow we're sending you a kit. You are randomly picked. Mm-hmm. Please do your own test like this, and we'll collect the samples from you. Yeah. So that started. When was it? Last week. One of my guys, his wife was selected, and she had to go and do all this stuff.
Oh, really?
I've had a couple of guys who've been tested positive in the UK. Which sparked a whole deep clean, because there's one of the few guys that actually have to go into the office. So, they're okay, but it's just They go for a test. The test comes back positive. They go home, into isolation, quarantine, and then they have to go for 10 to 14 days or something, and then they go for another test, and that test has to be negative before we allow them back to the working environment. So we had two guys off at the same time, and one came back fine, no issues, tested negative after his positive test in self-isolation or self-quarantine. And the other guy, both him and his wife were tested positive. They all recovered and are itching to come back to work, been in long enough in quarantine. They went for tests. He's still testing positive, but she's not. It's how? So he's had to go for another test.
Sherbet. Yeah. Any sort of serious cases, like anyone losing their life in your company because of it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Enemy, yeah. And I think that's so strange, because there's some people that have had it that, knew they had it, but had very, very little effect, symptoms or anything like that. And other people that didn't even know that they had it. And that's across the age range, it's not like... I heard a story that there was some 85-year-old woman that got it, that it's she didn't even bat an eyelid kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, geez, we're 6 months into this now. Hey? I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's just become... So, I mean, it was so weird going out last week. I mean, I was like, I wasn't sure, went out there, I arrived there, I'd forgotten my mask, so they gave me a mask to wear. I mean, at a pub that you having something to drink, you need a mask. I mean, anyway. Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't even use it because I got there, ordered something to drink, had my drink, ordered another one, and then left, So, but I mean, it was like, I don't know, I'm just like, even though things have opened up, and I mean, I'm just not feeling the need or the desire to go out and socialize at that level. Now, I don't know if it's not because I'm concerned. I'm not worried about my sort of safety. I mean, I go to the supermarket almost every day, kind of thing, and I'm not, it doesn't faze me. I put my mask on, go do my thing, sanitize, wash my hands when I get home, that kind of thing. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not. So it's not a concern of the safety aspect of going out. I don't know. Just not feeling going and hanging around in a restaurant or a bar. Or, yeah. Yeah. So, well, geez, dude. Yeah, that's a good question. When last did I play pool? Oh. It's definitely not years. It might be at least a year since I last played pool. Yeah, I did enjoy a good game of pool back in the day. Geez, where did we used to go down to the cinemas down in Witbank when they... I mean, can you believe that they opened the cinemas in Witbank when we were in matric? That's correct. Remember, we tried to get jobs there when it was... I even remember the guy's name. Mr. Drummond was the guy he was the cinema manager or whatever, that we were trying to convince to give us jobs at the cinema. Can you remember that? Or was that too far back for you? Yeah. Anyway, so and so they used to have like almost a games hall down there, and they had some pool tables, and that was the place to go to on a Friday night. And then we used to go and play, and we used to play for money back in the day. I don't know, when last did you play for money? Are you still with us? Or did we lose you? Lester. Yeah. Anyway, so those were the good old days when we used to go out on a Friday night, and the thing to do was to go and play pool. All had our own pool cues or whatever, and we'd go and challenge people, put some money on the table. Sometimes we used to win, sometimes we used to lose. Yeah. Yeah, well, I used to lose when there was money on the table. I don't know, stage fright or got yeah. But I mean a lot of people used to try and hustle as well, play a couple of shit games and then put some money on the table and then pull out all the stops. And I can actually remember a couple of years ago, I went to like the monthly meeting of the BMW club meeting here in Joburg. And they would have it at one of these country clubs I think it was the Morningside Country Club or something like that. And they had a pool table there, and so we have the evening, and go through the agenda of the meeting and whatever, and then afterwards, you socialize, you have some dinner, you have some beers or whatever. But there's a pool table in there, and obviously the regulars are sitting there at the bar, some of them playing pool and everything, and so what I like to do is I like to just stand and watch people play for a while, just to get a sense of how well they play and all that kind of stuff. And then I go and I play, say, okay, can I can I challenge someone? And so this guy got so frustrated with me because what I did is I thought, okay, I'll block all the holes. So I would put all of my ball, I think I was stripes or whatever. I would put all my stripe balls in front of all the holes. So like I wouldn't try and sink the ball, I would just try and set them up so that, you can then just have a good run. Jesus, this guy got so frustrated with me because he had been playing the whole night. And so I have these moments of brilliance when it comes to pool, and other days I just have shocking days, especially when there's money on the table. Yeah. 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 So dude, just carry on talking there. So have you got your own pool cue at the moment? Carry on talking there. Yeah. Can you take your own pool cue? Okay. Sure. I would imagine so. I haven't tested the theory out yet. Yeah. I'm just trying to think where would I go play pool. I mean, I'm trying to think where last I played pool. Yeah. No, not that many, hey? I'm trying to think of the places that I go to. Yeah, so the Jolly Roger is a well-known establishment here in Parkhurst. One of my frequent watering holes a couple of years ago. They extended, and it's so weird how it changes the vibe of the place, is that the Jolly Roger is basically a double-story establishment. So at the bottom is the smoking section. It's got the full bar, it's got the jukebox, and it's got a couple of tables, and then it's got these windows that open out onto the road. And, that's the smoking area. And then upstairs they've got another bar, but it's a little bit smaller, but then they've got the pizza oven and the kitchen up there, and also the toilets. And then they've got tables and chairs as well, but it's more like a restaurant sort of vibe. So the bar vibe is downstairs, smoking, restaurant upstairs, non-smoking. And the place gets, well, back in the day, pre-COVID, it used to get quite busy, both upstairs and downstairs. But downstairs on a Friday night or Saturday night, but like after 10 o'clock, it would like really get sort of, it's like the last place that you go to before you go home. So you might go out for dinner with your mates, you might go somewhere, but you'll land up at the Jolly Roger on the way home at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. And then that place would get like super packed and cramped and whatever, but it had a vibe about it. And, as long as they're playing good music on the jukebox, there's not some bright spark that's gone and put some hip-hop music or something. No offense to people that listen to hip-hop, but generally the kind of people that go to, it doesn't. No. The people there, they want like hard rock, it's like AC/DC and, that kind of stuff. And, that sort of vibe. 80s or 90s music, Queen and Dire Straits and that kind of stuff. And a little while ago, there was a shop on the corner that used to sell light fittings and, like a lighting shop, and they went under. And as I understand, the guy that owns the Jolly Roger actually owns the building. So what he did is he extended the Jolly Roger on the bottom floor. He extended it and he made extra toilets, and then he also put a pool table in there. But you cannot imagine, it's just changed the vibe of the place. It's not as, I don't know, it's just different. It's not the same. And not in a positive way, in a negative way. Yeah, I think so. No, I don't think it's got anything to do. It's like so weird because that area that they've extended into is like almost like empty. Okay, they've got a pool table there and they've got a couple of tables and chairs and everything, but it just doesn't fit. It's like I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. 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 So I mean, you've just reminded me where the other places that I play pool, and that's there's a place across the road from the Jolly Roger called Jolly Cool, and they've got about 5 or 6 pool tables in there. So yeah, that's. I suspect it might be. Yeah? I suspect it might be. So I would say that that's probably the most frequent place that I play pool at. But so Jolly Roger's like the older generation of people, and Jolly Cool is like the younger generation of people. So it's like 18 to 25 that are in Jolly Cool, whereas in the Jolly Roger, it's like, the 35 plus to, the 40, 50s kind of thing. Obviously, it's got the regulars, the old toppies that have been there, going there for 20, 30 years kind of thing. But, so the vibe in Jolly Cool is totally different because obviously the music that they're playing is different and it's a lot younger. But often what I would do on an evening is I would go to the Jolly Roger, hang there with my mates, have a couple of beers and say, hey guys, excuse me for a bit. And I'd walk across to Jolly Cool, go play some pool, then come back again. So yeah, I mean, you could have quite a good evening. Yeah. Anyway, the good old days. Yeah, I would go to I'd go to the Jolly Roger quite often with a mate of mine, Nick. He's actually up in Mozambique at the moment. He's actually stuck up there. He can't get out of the country. He probably could get out of the country. He just doesn't know whether he'd be able to get back in again. They're doing some work up north in Mozambique. They do these like sort of what's the right word? Pop-up sort of like offices and canteens and accommodation for like in these camps for these like oil companies that are busy working up there. So that's, the kind of business that he's in. And but him and I, whenever he's in town, then we'll go to the Jolly Roger. And it's very, very seldom that we don't have a good evening there. I mean, it gets super interesting, especially if you're not drinking too much and you're still pretty sober and everyone else is getting like super hammered, It gets, but But I must tell you a story about the Jolly Roger. So the one night I was in there, and it must have been about like 1 o'clock in the morning, and like everyone's all merry and whatever. And this guy came in, and he was wearing a chef's sort of uniform. So like, you know, the white thing that's buttoned down the sides, and obviously he had, I don't know, works at some hotel. Yeah. But he, big guy. And I don't know, he was in a good mood and whatever, and he decided to give me a bear hug, right? So he, you know, put his arms around me and picked me up like that. And he cracked my rib, or the cartilage popped out or something, dude. I was in so much pain. Like, yeah, I pulled a fat, yeah. But I mean, seriously, dude, I couldn't sleep like for 6 weeks because, you know, every time you turn over, you're like, oh, shit, my rib, right? And, yeah, so, I mean, I was taking some medication that just helped me sleep better and all that. And eventually, you know, with those kind of things, eventually over time, you know, it like fixes itself kind of thing. And it had just come right. It was like, you know, like that first week that you're actually sleeping without having to take any sort of pain medication. And I went back to the Jolly Roger, and there was a fight that broke out behind me. And I had my back to the incident. And obviously there was argy-bargy, and the guy bumped into me, and then I bumped into the table and cracked my rib again on the same spot. So for another 6 weeks, I was like, oh, fuck, this is more pain medication. But, you know, it's like one of those things, you know, like when you leave the Jolly Roger or the next morning you say, oh, shit, that's the last time I'm going to that place, you know, never. And then you'll be out with your mates and you like, you know, you've gone to the Brian Lara or whatever, and it's about 9, 10 o'clock and everyone's saying, oh, you know, maybe we should move on. Okay, where should we go? Okay, let's go to the Jolly Roger. So it's one of those places. Yeah, it's called the Brian Lara Rum Eatery. So it's like a Caribbean themed restaurant. So it's got a bar and they do cocktails, and I mean, look, they do their food is really, really good. So they do the good old beef burger, chicken burger. They do what's that sort of chicken that they do in the sort of Caribbean? Jerk chicken. They do jerk chicken burger. Then they do like calamari, you know, like squid heads kind of thing. And then then you can order like a rum steak, but then what they do is they cook it and then they slice it up, and their chips are really good. You know, their potato chips. What else do they do? But it's not a big menu, but the stuff that they do is really, really good. And it's a restaurant. It's primarily a restaurant. So it's tables and chairs inside and outside. But there's a bar there, so you can sit at the bar. But people tend to, what they do is they get there, they've got 1 or 2 like sort of stand-up tables outside, so you can go stand at the table, it's the right height. And people just stand and, you know, just, you know, like on a Friday night you go past there and like everyone's like either at the bar or sitting at tables or standing outside on the sort of pavement area. And yeah, I mean, it's actually, I mean, if you go there when it's busy and you meet I've met some interesting people there, you know, like you have a good social experience, you know, you can go there and you can go there on your own and bump into someone and yeah. Yeah, so no, it does happen. So there was one of Oleg and my favorite spots to go to was a place called KRAK. It used to be the Stanley Beer Yard, then it became KRAK. And unfortunately, I understand that it's closed now as a result of COVID. But I mean, we would, Oleg and I would go there on a Friday afternoon after work, go grab a couple of beers, you know, get there at like 4 o'clock, leave at about 6. And often on a Friday night, they would have a guy by the name of Charles, and he would play vinyls. So he would spin some vinyl. So that was pretty cool. So if you stuck around on a Friday night, it would get fairly busy and you'd be able to listen to some good music, but vinyls. But then on a Saturday, they would then have some of the local bands, and they would come play like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they would have a set there, and it would be like some of the bands that would, Honor Carstens played there, he used to be with Springbok Nude Girls. Black Harbour would play there, Black Cat Bones, they've had Albert Frost. Yeah, so there are a couple of places. Yeah, look, I mean, there would be some bands there that you wouldn't have heard of before. I mean, like the Black Cat Bones, I'd heard about them before, but I'd never seen them play, but I saw them play there at Calexico for the first time. So there's other places like the Radium Beer Hall. Where else? And then this friend of mine, Brian, he plays in a cover band, and they would play at there's a place called Marty Malone's, which is very much like the old keg Irish pub kind of vibe, and it's in Four Ways, and I mean that place gets packed on a Friday night. Shit, dude, it really hums. And then they would go there and they would just do covers, so not really up and coming band, but it would be live entertainment. Yeah, it's a gig, yeah. But like I almost feel like, when I think about Joburg, I think like in Cape Town, like probably because I'm only there, a couple of times every couple of years or a couple of times a year. It's like I almost feel like Cape Town's like the place where you would just happen to bump into a band up and coming band you'd never heard before. But that's probably because I don't frequent that place that often. Where here in Joburg, it's pretty much the same kind of bands that are playing around at different venues. Like, yeah, the same group of bands. And I mean, there are quite a few of them. But yeah. But I mean, I've heard, also the Hard Rock Cafe in Sandton City at Mandela Square. They also have live entertainment there. A mate of mine's Black Harbour bands played there a couple of times. And I mean, it's nice. If there is one thing that I miss, that's what I miss. I miss going out and hanging there and, listening to some live music, hanging with your mates. It's definitely a good time out. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Oh, really? Oh, wow. So is that like you say that that's a restriction not related to COVID? It's just like a general thing. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, what's the status when it comes to like smoking areas? Is it like, do they have a designated smoking area in the establishment, or is it like, oh no, you need to go stand outside and you have to be 15 meters away from the door, or what's the 5 meters away from the door? Yes. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. But I mean, we've spoken about this before. Is it legal to stand on the sidewalk and drink alcohol? Okay. Yeah, because I mean, here. Oh, really? Yeah. So, I mean, so in. Oh, okay. Really? Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Don't have internet, but you can drink beer on the train. Priorities. That's crazy. Yeah, that's interesting because theoretically here in South Africa, you can't stand on the sidewalk and drink alcohol. So like there at the Jolly Roger, often people stand outside and smoke because, it does get a bit hectic inside sometimes and, you just need a bit of space. Yeah, so the bar downstairs is the smoking zone, but people do go and stand outside. Yeah. So I think, and I think that's probably the reason we have smoking zones is because of the fact that you can't stand and drink outside theoretically, but people do it. Like I said to Brian Lara, a lot of people stand on the sidewalk, but it's almost like it's not really on the sidewalk. It's part of the building. It's got a overhang, like you said. It's not it's double story. It's got flats on top, but it's got like a slab that comes over the entrance of the establishment. So people tend to stand outside there, and I've never really been there and been told that I can't drink outside. But at the Jolly Roger, definitely, like early in the evening, say like 7, 8 o'clock at night, a cop car might come by and say that you're not allowed to drink outside, you must go inside. Or maybe even the manager of the place will say, can you please rather leave your drink inside and smoke and then come back in again. But then, like after 10 o'clock, who gives a shit, kind of thing. 11 o'clock at night, people aren't really complaining about that. Jeez, dude, I don't know. It's like, I'm sure we could Google it. It's like, what strange laws still exist? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Where is that, like in Japan? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just Googling it here quickly just to see here. Only people over 18 can drink in public. This is for the UK, by the way. Except in areas of towns where public space protection orders are in place. The public space protection order is a special decree that allows police to stop people from drinking in a certain area. This gives the police officers special powers in order to stop people drinking in public and confiscate it from them. Even outside of these areas, the police can take away alcohol or move on under 18s if they've been drinking. Okay, fair enough. Police can also fine or arrest under. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so So it says here, alcohol and public transport. So in London, Transport of London has a policy in place where bans passengers from drinking alcohol or carrying open containers of alcohol on public transport. This includes buses, trams, tubes, and Docklands Light Railway. You can drink and buy alcohol on national trains in the UK. However, operators can decide to run dry trains where you can't consume or carry alcohol on board. For example, trains going to football matches or other sporting events. Where this happens, notices are put in advance to warn passengers. Okay, so that's the UK. What does it say? Yeah, I'm just looking at Wikipedia. Well, yeah, it doesn't say that. So, okay, let's see. Let's take a place like New Zealand. Let's see what New Zealand says about drinking in public. In New Zealand, public drinking is legal, although local authorities have the power to pass bylaws declaring liquor-free zones where liquor may be consumed on licensed premises or private property, but not in the street or public places. Many towns now have such zones, usually covering the central business district. Consuming alcohol while driving a motor vehicle is legal, as long as the driver is not over the driver blood alcohol limit. Okay. But, dude, talking about that, that's just reminded me, if there's one news item that I picked up during the week here in South Africa, was that they're now passing law that in South Africa, you cannot drink and drive at all. At all. So yeah. 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 So I think what's happened in South Africa is, they did the whole alcohol ban. So I suppose they could then measure the effect of that. They then saw the effect of opening it up again and the sort of burden that was put onto the healthcare system, both private and public. And then they took it away again. And I think along that way they've decided that, and obviously the number of accidents that were related to alcohol had gone up. So I think they've pulled the trigger, dude. Pulled the trigger. Yeah. Yes. Oh, God. Yes. So look, just doing a quick scan here of all the countries around the world. This is on Wikipedia. It looks like, in general, in most countries, drinking in public is legal. Generally, in a lot of the places. I'm looking, I would say maybe 60-40, just if I eyeball it. Which is quite interesting, so I wonder, let me see if I can just see what drinking in public in South Africa, see what, if they give a reason here. Okay, so however, there's a public law that nowhere in South Africa can you drink alcohol on the beach. Okay. This is drinking in public. This is Cape Town Forum on TripAdvisor. Yeah. So here it says, the law has never changed concerning drinking in public. No drinking outside liquor outlets or outside nightclubs or taverns. So what does it say here? According to this is Gauteng Liquor Act, no person is permitted to be under the influence of alcohol in or near any public place, including any road, street, alley, park, market, shop, warehouse, public garage. Now that's not drinking, that is under the influence of alcohol, right? And it's a 300. No, you can drink, but don't be under the influence. Okay, yeah. So according to that law, no person may consume liquor in or near any public place as mentioned above, as well as a motor vehicle driven on a public road or parked in a public area. Again, there's a 300 Rand fine that can be issued. According to the public open space bylaw, right, in Gauteng, no person may consume, brew, store, or sell any alcohol in public places. Okay. And that's the extent of what it says there. So it doesn't. Yeah. So the law is that you're actually not allowed to be under the influence of alcohol in a public space, which is, I didn't realize that. Okay. So, now this is drinking in public, and this is specific to Cape Town. Well, this is talking specifically about Cape Town, and this is on TripAdvisor. It says, RE drinking in public. It's okay, yes and no. Okay, picnic drinking is fine. This is for Table Mountain, Kirstenbosch Gardens, of course, all the wine estates, although they might not want you to be drinking other people's wine. Okay, fair enough. However, there is a public law that nowhere in South Africa can you drink alcohol on the beach. Follows on from increasing problems in the last few years with young people who would have big drinking parties on the beaches and a lot of areas around the coast. Unfortunately, people are out for a quiet time on the beach, then obviously even with a glass of wine, were disrupted, and broken glasses and bottles. Obviously, that's definitely an issue. I just want to see if there's anything. No idea. Okay. Yeah, and that's basically what they say about drinking in public in Cape Town. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. Yeah, but definitely they are saying that you can't drink and drive in South Africa anymore. Interesting. Yeah, look, I think it is a good thing because Yeah. Yeah, and I think yeah. So I think that's probably more effective than, from what I can see in South Africa, it's probably more effective to have it, the stigma attached to drinking and driving, from a social pressure point of view, rather than having stringent laws in place of drinking and driving. Because people still drink and drive, dude. Even though, they're having roadblocks on Friday nights and on the main roads and all that kind of, you just the back road kind of thing. Coming back from the Jolly Roger. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, but I mean, in situations where I've been out and had a couple of beers, and then I'd be like, or okay, put it this way: I go out, I'm in my car, I go to a place, and my intention is not to have. I'm going to go there. I'm going to have 2 beers. Because legally you could have 2 beers over 2 hours and you would be able to drive home. They could stop you, breathalyze you, and you'd still be okay. So you go there and you bump into a mate of yours or a group of friends or whatever, and you'll end up staying there a lot longer. And after a while, a couple of shooters, you're mixing your drinks, you've had a whiskey or two, a couple of beers, a couple of Jägermeisters, and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, shit, I'm theoretically over the limit. Okay. Now you're in a place, your car's parked outside. Well, I could tell you a story, but anyway. So, my choice of words. So, and then like all of a sudden now you're in this situation where, first of all, you think that you're okay to drive home, because it's very seldom that you think that you, and that's a mindset. Yeah. You're like, geez, man, I've only got like 5Ks to drive. I mean, your options are leave your car there, catch an Uber home, right? But now you're thinking, oh shit, now I'm going to leave my car. You know, I'm going to come back here tomorrow morning, my hubcaps are gone, my wheels are gone, my car's gone. You know, so, and I'm not making any excuse, but I mean, these are the things that are going through your mind. And after you've had a couple of drinks, your sort of judgment is not the greatest. So the responsible thing to do is that, like, when you're going out and you're going to a pub and it's a Friday night, even though you might only be going for 2 drinks, you've got to say to yourself, and also the other problem is it's not safe to walk home on your own, you know, as well, is that you need to, and this is what's worked for me, is like, okay, I'm going out tonight. I'm going to catch an Uber. I'm going to catch an Uber there. So I've got no choice but to catch an Uber home. And then also, you know, it takes pressure off you when you're out in the evening. You can actually go out and enjoy yourself, and, you know, like, you don't have to go out there. Yeah. And also you don't have to go out there with the intention of getting slammed. Yeah. Yeah, well, like in South Africa. Yeah. I think it's more the convenience. Look, I mean, they are cheaper, and I mean, we can go into the whole discussion about the taxi industry in South Africa and their pushback on Uber, and I mean, you know, yeah, but I mean, the way I'm saying it, and it's probably because the taxi industries have been regulated, and Uber came in and they weren't regulated because they were under ride sharing, and, you know, there are all those like sort of loopholes and whatever. But I mean, it's like, listen, Uber disrupted the industry. It's forced the other players to, get with it. In other words, have an easier way for you to interact with them, like an app on your phone. I mean, how easy is it? You walk out from the pub, open up your Uber app, UberX, from here to home, push the button, car will be here in 5 minutes. Thanks very much. I don't have to pull out any cash. My credit card's connected. You know, it's easy and convenient, and turns out to be cheaper than the other guys. Okay, so, you know, like in my view, what's the problem? You know, get with the program kind of thing. But yeah, so I think it's the convenience. It's really the convenience. Well, for me at least. So yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I say it's. But I do see a lot of people. Like if I go out, a lot of people are arriving and leaving in Ubers. So I mean that's encouraging to see. Well, they got another one called. What's the other one? There are a couple that have come on board now with an app and that kind of thing. Before the whole Uber thing, there used to be a thing which was called Goodfellas, okay? And like you paid a subscription, and then if you went out and had too much to drink and you needed to get home and you couldn't drive and you still had your car, then you would call them up, and then what they would do is they would come and pick you up, and there were 2 people that would come in the car one guy would drive you home and the other guy would drive your car home. And I think it was I think there were some insurance companies that was like, if you were insured with them, you would either get complimentary, like maybe two incidents a month or whatever. So yeah, but that was a bit expensive. That was quite expensive. I mean, you really had to be a person that was going out and having lots of situations where, you needed their services for it to pay for itself, kind of thing. I mean, from a subscription. I speak under correction. I never used it. But there was also this other thing at one stage. I don't know if it was in the UK, where there was a guy that would be, and I think they even did it on Top Gear the one time, is where the guy would have like one of these foldable scooters, right? So then what would happen is, you would phone the company and say, okay, listen, I've had a bit too much to drink. Can you please help me out? And the guy would arrive on a scooter, right? And then he would pack up the scooter and put it in the boot of your car. And then he would drive your car home, take the scooter out, and then off he would go and do his next gig or next call or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, okay, I see we're sitting at 11:30 already, but so let's do the last story for the show. We've got tuk-tuks in Joburg now. Well, they've been around for a couple of years. You know the good old Indian tuk-tuk? Oh, right, yeah. 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 So I think, cause, like Joburg, like there's the inner circle, right? So, like all the suburbs inside the circle. And then generally, where I'm staying, if I want to go out, I mean, it's so easy to get to places. It's 3Ks this way, 3Ks that way, as the crow flies kind of thing. Maybe 5Ks on the road. So, like those tuk-tuks, I mean, they're only really operating in and amongst the suburbs and maybe 3 or 4 suburbs that are connected. So they're operating mainly from Melville, but I have seen them come as far out as my suburb. I've actually even ordered food and it's arrived in a tuk-tuk. Well, it seems like the guy was hooked up to Uber Eats as well, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, cool, dude. It's been a great weekend. Yeah, I was hoping that teams said that they were going to, you see, I really need to have the whole NDI output on the software, which Skype gives, which they said they were going to put into Teams and they were going to release it, and they announced that in May, and it's now August, and we're still waiting. And clearly not. No, there's no incentive. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Dude. Oh, what, this music? Well, yeah, it's official sign off. So, anyway, we'll catch you guys next weekend.